Okay, so if we go to Netaket, we did chapter 1, basic device configuration. We seem like we switching concept, what a switch is, and yeah, all these things. We started with VLANs last time, and today we're going to do inter-VLAN routing. So normally 2 minutes, we are done. So what is it about? Let me open my packet tracer. So last time we did the definition of a VLAN, how to create a VLAN, how to assign ports to VLAN, and how to verify. It's something we did last time. And we did say we configure VLANs on a switch, not on a router. And we did create two VLANs, VLAN teacher, VLAN student. So on the switch, each port will be configured as a VLAN. It means if you're a teacher, you must plug your PC to the VLAN for teacher. In fact, it asks IT engineers. We know that this person is a teacher. We go to the server room and we plug the network cable to a port that belongs to the teacher. So today we're going, and we did say that when we have two VLANs, they cannot communicate. It's like it's two different buildings. You cannot jump from there to there, no. But if you want to communicate, we need to put a bridge so that we can easily cross the building, or I don't know, the floors or what. So that bridge is called a router. So if you want the different VLANs to communicate between themselves, we need what we call, so let me do a demo. If I open this switch, enable, show VLAN. So here we can see our two VLANs, VLAN teacher, VLAN student. And okay, to do the good demo, I'm going to take another switch to show you that if you are in different VLANs, you cannot communicate. I'm going to put a switch here and two PCs, this PC, this PC. I'm going to add to get the links to connect them. Okay, I'm going to connect them for now. I'm going to add IP addresses just for communication. I type here, for example, 192.168.10.2. Activate default subnet mask. I come here, desktop, IP configuration, 3, default subnet, sorry, .3, default subnet mask, and yeah. So on this switch, if I tap the command to verify if I have VLANs, enable, I tap show VLAN brief, show VLAN brief to check if I have some VLANs there. And I can see that, so always 1,000 stuff, just ignore it for the system. We only have VLAN 1, that is the default VLAN. And we did see that by default, all the ports belong to. So we don't have any VLAN created. The default VLAN is there already. So we didn't create. So let's check if when no VLANs, if these two PCs, we can communicate. So ping, I'm going to ping the other PC, that's 3. I press enter. I can see that we can communicate. There is 0% loss of packets. Now, ways to we can communicate. Let's now create VLAN. So this guy, I'm going to say VLAN 10, and the name is student. Here I'm going to say it's VLAN 20, and the name will be teachers. And I'm going to create these VLANs here. So there's VLAN here. I open my switch, I go to my switch, conf t. Remember to create a VLAN. So VLAN 10 on top, then VLAN. So we're going to create this VLAN in the switch. So we type VLAN 10, name, student. That's all. We exit. Now I'm going to create VLAN 20 with the name teacher in the switch. I open my switch. I type VLAN 20, name, teachers. And I'm done. And I save, do copy, run, start. So I just created my two VLANs. To verify, I can show VLAN brief, and I can see that my two VLANs have been created. VLAN 10, the name is student. VLAN 20, the name is teachers. Now, you can see that the student is in port FA01. So I'm going to assign that port to this VLAN. So I go to that port, conf t, interface FA01. So I'm going to put that port in VLAN 10 for student. So switch port access. So the switch port mode access. It means this port will carry only data for VLAN 10 only, not other VLANs. Then switch port access, and we're going to say you must belong to VLAN 10. This is how we put a port, or we assign a port to a VLAN. We exit, we go to the other port. The other ports, VLAN 20, this PC is connected to FA02. So we're going to put that port FA02 in VLAN 20 teachers. So all these recordings, I put them in the Google Drive, the link. So I go to that interface FA0/2, switch port mode access, switch port access. Now this port will belong to VLAN 20. And I say, and I can end if I want to, and copy, run, start. So quickly, I check again how we assign a port to a VLAN. So 1 minute, check these two.
Max?
Yes.
Good morning. Good morning, Max.
Yeah, good morning.
Just one question, Max.
Yes.
You assigned one port now
Yes.
to 10 and to 20. So
Yes.
if you want to add a few ports,
Yes.
should your command be interface range, and then the ports that you want to assign to 10 or to 20?
Okay, that's a very good question. Give me 1 minute. Let me finish this one, and and I'll answer. It's a very good question. So let's put on hold for now. So for now, we did assign this port to VLAN 10. So you go to that interface, switch port mode access, and switch port access VLAN 10. This is how we assign. You go to the other VLAN, to other interface, switch port mode access, then switch port access VLAN 20. This is how we assign a port to a VLAN. So now I want to view my VLANs. Show VLAN brief. I press enter. Now I can see my VLANs are here. The default VLAN is there, VLAN 10. I can see that port, this port 1, belongs to VLAN 10 student. And we can see that port 2 belongs to VLAN 20 teachers. Now, before we configured the VLANs, these two PCs could communicate. Now, let's check if now, after we are in different VLAN, let us check if we can still communicate. So I go here. So see, previously everything was fine, 0% loss. Now, with the VLAN, I press enter. You see now, because we are in different VLAN, we cannot communicate. Only PCs that belong to the same VLAN, we can communicate. If you're in different VLAN, we cannot communicate. So if I want 100% loss, I try to send packet, we are lost. It means the other guy, PC2 didn't receive to reply to me to say, hey, I'm free, we can communicate, you see. So, you see. So if you want these two PCs to communicate, we need a router. So Antonio, I didn't forget your question, just wait a bit. We need a router for inter-VLAN routing. Inter-VLAN routing. If you need PCs from different VLAN to communicate, we need inter-VLAN routing. So we need a router. So that router, how are we going to do? We're going to connect that router to a switch. And we have a lot of things that we'll do here. That is chapter 4. It's what we're going to do. So before we do, so if you want to assign, I'm going to tap again for Antonio, show VLAN brief. In the default VLAN, by default, all the ports are there. So yourself, you can take one, like this one, and assign to a VLAN. So if you want to assign ports to VLANs, you have two ways. You can take one by one. You go to each and you assign each. Else, if you want to skip, for example, you want to port 3, port 16. So let's try port 3, 7, and 11. If you want to assign to VLAN 10 students, you can also do that. Conft interface. Here we cannot say range. If you say range, it's you see 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, you see, you cannot skip. If you want to add 3, 4, 5, and 6, you cannot skip 4 and 5. We must all be the same. It's 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you see interface range. But if you want only 3 and 6, or you see one by one like that, then you do interface. Then you need to list them. For example, FA03, comma, FA07, for example, comma, FA011, for example. You press enter. So you see here, the system doesn't take that comma stuff. It means we need to change. It's not that one. We need this guy, semicolon, I think. You see, you press enter. Still, it doesn't want to take. So we need to change. You see, this is how we troubleshoot. If you do your packet tracer file and lab, and you're struggling, step by step, you try that doesn't work. Let me try something else. So now let's try the dash. This one maybe. This one. And press enter. Still, it doesn't want to take. See, so it means we cannot list one. Okay, let's try something else. About 3, let's say comma 7, comma 11. I press enter. Still, it doesn't want to take. So the comma is not this one, this one. So still, this guy doesn't want to take. So how to do that? Let's go to our friend's question mark FA03 question mark. So here he says press enter, but there is a comment for that. There is a comment to add many on a same line. Maybe with packet tracer the system doesn't allow, but in real life, if you take a live how do you call it, router, a physical router, normally it should work, because we tried. Okay, let's try this one. So still, okay, let me check. So if it doesn't work, it means you need to do one by one. Okay, so here it doesn't want to take. We drop a question mark here. Interface, okay. Question mark. 024, indeed. So question mark. Okay, so according to the program of packet tracer, you need to do one by one. But the real operating system on a real physical equipment, you have a choice to add. So if you want to do such thing, according to packet tracer, go one by one. One by one. But if you want a range, for example, go to physical. That's why if you do your configs, you can say the first row will belong to students, so that you know that anytime you plug something here, it belongs to student. Under it for something else, you see. It's much easier than doing one. At the end of the day, you don't know which one is what. And you can plug someone PC in HR. We can see everyone ID, everyone's salaries, you see. So you must be very careful also when you do VLANs. That's why it's much better to do the range, so that at least you put a sticker to say, okay, first row students, so that you know that anytime you plug. Down here is HR, you see. But if you take one, and at the end of the day, maybe you're on leave, and one of your technicians is there and he's confused, you can plug someone PC in HR and you can be in trouble. So it's good to take the range one, unless you do one by one and you document it properly. Okay, that is the answer for. So if you want to say range, if you want to say range, for example, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you see, I don't skip any port, then the range will work. So you do interface range or interface question mark. You can specify a port or range. Interface range FA03 to 10. You see. Now you can assign all of them. Switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 10. do copy, run, start to save. Do show VLAN brief. You can see that you have always port that you did add. So if you want to create VLAN, it's good to start creating VLAN 10, name student, VLAN 20, name teacher. If you don't do that, for example, I'm going to assign port 20, 21, 22 in VLAN 50, and I don't create the VLAN normally. I exit. You say, okay, me, I don't want to say VLAN 50, you see. I don't want to say VLAN 50 and name. No, no. I want to go straight. Then it's fine. You can go interface range, VLAN interface range, FA 20-22. FA0, FA0. So you see here, you must type exactly the name of FA0, yeah. And here I can say switch port mode access, then switch port access VLAN 50, and you press enter, enter. Do show VLAN brief. So you see, your VLAN 50 has been created, but now check the name because you didn't add a name. So the system will say, okay, I'm going to give you a default name, VLAN 050. So if you want to create a VLAN, you have VLAN 10, you add your name, name student. VLAN 20, name teachers. If you don't add a name, the system will assign a default name like that. Now let's continue. We say that now this PC, PC1 and PC2, they can no longer communicate because of they belong to different VLANs. If we want them to communicate together, we need something called inter-VLAN routing. It means we need to add a router and do some configs between the switch and the router. So the name of this router, the new name will be router on a stick. It means this router has been configured to allow inter-VLAN routing, to allow different PCs that belong to different VLANs to communicate. So we have two ways. We start from the switch. We have a config to do on the switch. Then we have a config to do on the router. So we can see on the switch, we have port FA03. I'm going there. See. Conft, because I want to configure something. Interface FA03. Now switch port mode, question mark. I have access and I have trunk. If you say access like we did before, it means this port will allow data from only one VLAN. For VLAN 10 only, any PCs in VLAN 10, or you see. If you say trunk, it means this port will allow to carry traffic from different VLANs, or many VLANs, VLAN 10, 20, 50, and what. So because here, this guy is VLAN 10, will go to the switch and we need to go to a router. VLAN 20 teachers, PC2, it will need to go to the switch, then the router. Now you can see that this port FA03 will carry data from VLAN 10, will carry VLAN data from VLAN 20. So this port will carry data from many VLANs. So now, for that, because of that, switch port mode, it will be trunk. You see, trunk means I'm going to carry me port FA03. I will allow data from many VLANs to go through me. Then switch port, trunk, allow, see VLAN. So I'm going to allow VLAN data from VLAN 10 and data from VLAN 20. You see, this is how it is. So port FA03 will allow VLAN data from VLAN 10 and data from VLAN 20. So this is a new way of configuring a trunk port. So have a look and we continue. We start from here. Switch port mode trunk. Switch port mode trunk allowed VLAN. So check that 1 minute and we continue. Okay, we continue. You press enter. You can end and copy, run, start. This is what we do for inter-VLAN when it comes to this port FA03. But it's still red. Why? Wait. Now let's go to the router. So here, it's where the big business is. We go to the router. So I'm going to show you first an example of how it's configured. Inter-VLAN routing. I'm going to show you an example. We do the same thing and then okay, this is a full config that we'll be doing. If we take, for example, on this router, router 1, the port is G001. This is the normal physical port. I'm not going to assign an IP address on that port. Rather, I'm going to divide it in sub-interface, in smaller interfaces. For example, if I have VLAN 10, I'm going to divide that port in smaller ports called sub-interfaces. The first one will be 001.10, and the second one will be for VLAN 20, G001.20. So the physical port will be divided in two ports. One to identify VLAN 10, you see here, interface, let me zoom in. Interface G001, the real name, .10, to say people from VLAN 10 will use it, will use this as their default gateway. Then when I go, people from VLAN 20, on the router, the interface will be the physical interface dot 20, a sub interface, you see. Sub interface. You take the physical interface, you divide it in two, one for VLAN 10, dot 10, one for VLAN 20. So please check these two new interfaces that you'll be using. We call it sub interfaces. So if you have VLAN 50, interface, the normal interface, dot 50 for VLAN 50. So when you do that, you need to add a description to say, okay, this new smaller port or sub interface will be the default gateway for anyone that is in VLAN 10. What does it mean? It means the IP address that will be here, this IP, will be given as default gateway for anyone that belongs to VLAN 10. No worries. The first time when you see that, hey, it's strange. No, it's not. The more you do, the more. Cisco is about practicing the same time many times. Nothing else, I'm telling you. So to allow different VLANs to communicate, we're going to create a sub interface .10 to identify for VLAN 10, and a description, default gateway for anyone that belongs to VLAN 10. So this smaller port will be with default gateway. Now you need to add some stamp. It means any data coming from VLAN 10 will have a stamp to be identified. So we say encapsulation.1q 10 for VLAN 10. You see everything is 10 here. VLAN 10, VLAN 10, and .1q 10. The system will say, okay, you guys, because you come from VLAN 10, I'm going to put a stamp on you, VLAN 10. So that when the router will receive your packet, it say, you come from VLAN 10. Then he knows how to help you. And you add an IP address on that sub interface, not the physical interface, no. We go to the other, the smaller interface, this one, G001, we divide into small interface or sub interfaces. .10 for this guy, now .20 for VLAN 10. And you do the same thing, description, encapsulation, and IP address. So check these two, and it's what we're going to apply that side. 1 minute, it's very important. So chapter 4 is this comment that we will be doing. Inter-VLAN routing. And the name of that router is called router on a stick. After that, we'll do some packet tracer. That's all for this chapter. So if you know this new comment, it's fine. Now,
Max,
yes,
correct me if I'm wrong, or the way I understand it is,
yeah,
the the router, the
yeah,
router allows the different VLANs to go through it, to
yeah.
connect the switches, Am I correct?
Okay,
Am I
so
correct? Am I correct in saying that?
Okay, let me come here to answer to your question. So these two PCs, we need to communicate, but they belong to different VLAN. By default, they cannot communicate. Why? We don't belong to the same VLAN. So what will happen with inter-VLAN routing? If PC1 want to communicate with PC2, the data will go to a switch. The switch will forward to the router, and from the router will say, you come from VLAN 10. Where do you want to go? I want to go to PC2 that belongs to VLAN 20. Okay. Now I'm going to send you back to PC2. So only the router can allow data to move from different VLAN. That's why here, you see, the interface is what? G000 now. We're going to divide it in two. Why two? Because we have two VLANs. Here we have two VLANs. So we're going to divide that physical interface into. So let's wait. So maybe after that, you'll get your answer, Antonio. So you see, this is the physical interface. So I'm going to divide it into. So I keep the same G0000 dot 10 for VLAN 10. Then I'm going to use the same one, G000 dot 20 for VLAN 20. See. So this physical interface G0000, I'm going to cut to divide into G000.10 for VLAN 10, G000.20 for VLAN 20, and this one we call it sub interfaces. We call them sub interfaces. So inside the router, when your router will receive data from VLAN 10, say, okay, where do you want to go? VLAN 20. Now I have a mechanism to send you to VLAN 20. Here we go. You see. So this is how it works. So the switch is not powerful enough to do that, to do the routing. So it will forward it to the router via a trunk port. A trunk port is what is a port that can allow different VLAN to go through it. FA01 will allow VLAN for data for VLAN 10 only. So it's an access port. Switch port mode access. Access means data from the only one VLAN, VLAN 10. But this guy, FA03, will allow VLAN 10, VLAN 20, many VLANs, so we call it a trunk port. So you see, so now we're going to do the configs inside. I go to my router. So let's say G.
Max, yes. Sorry, Max.
Yeah, continue.
No, I've got that, the subnetting and that of the router. I just the question, however, was just without the inter-VLAN routing.
Yeah.
The switch is now acting as a trunk when you connect the router. All right.
No, the switch is not a trunk. It's only this port, FA03, that is a trunk port.
Okay. Yes.
Uh-huh.
And that allows the two VLANs to connect via the router.
Yes. Yeah, via the router, yes.
Yes. So without the router, without the inter VLAN routing, without that trunk, that port on the switch, the two can't connect. The 10 and the 20 VLAN can't connect only with the switch.
No, this 03 is there because we are connected to a router. If we didn't
Yes.
have a router, FA03
Yes.
should not exist.
Yes. Yes. Correct. Correct. Okay. Now I just wanted to know that I'm clear on that.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
question, because your question also helps anyone else to understand more. Thank you very much, Antonio. So this is some IP addresses. So G0010 for VLAN 10, which is the IP. And this one will be the default gateway for anyone belonging to VLAN 10. It means what? If I open this PC, physical desktop, so you see default gateway. The default gateway will be G00.10. So it's, you see, and I add that IP here, .10.1. You see. Now for the other one, okay, this is also for this guy. So 1 second. Okay. So now this IP will be what? The default gateway for anyone that belongs to VLAN 20. It means I open here, I go here, was 20.2. So now 192.20.1. No worries, we'll have time to do many times. So for today, it's just to explain. Then we have a lot of packet tracer for that. So on Saturday, next week, please come so that we can do some labs for that. Now that we have a clear idea of all these things, we can go to the router here. We open the router now, the CLI. Here we tap no. Enable, show IP interface brief to view all my port on my router. You see, I have that G000. So we're going to use it. Interface G0. Now, what's wrong here? I want to configure something. So conft interface G000. Here, if I want, I can just say no shutdown, no shutdown. But I'm not going to assign an IP address on that physical interface. No IP address there. We assign IP addresses to sub interfaces. It means I need to get out from here. Now go to interface G000.10 for VLAN 10. You see? Description. Default gateway, default gateway for VLAN 10. You see? You add a description. Now you can also say, okay, now from now on, because the router will receive packet from different VLANs. So the router needs to know you come from which VLAN. So we need a system to put a stamp per packet to say, okay, you come from VLAN 10, you come from VLAN 50, you come from that stamp. We say encapsulation dot 1Q and 10 for VLAN 10. Now I can assign IP address of that interface. Remember now, this one, it will be given to you in the question paper. We add this one. After that, we go to the other one and we assign. So 10.1, okay. And the other one is VLAN 20, see, 0.20, everything is 20, you see. So we go there. IP address 192.168.10 for VLAN 10.1, 255.0. If you want, you can also tap no shutdown, it's up to you. And we are done for this one. You can save, do copy, run start. Then I exit from here. I go to the other interface, interface G000.20 for VLAN 20. Description. It will be the default gateway for VLAN 20. And now I need to put stamps on any data coming from that VLAN. Encapsulation dot 1Q 20. Then I can add the IP address 168.20 for VLAN 20.1 subnet mask. You can also, if you want to, no shutdown. So we assign IP addresses only on the sub interfaces, not on the physical interface. Not here. Here you can just say no shut, but you cannot assign IP addresses. We assign IP addresses on the sub interfaces. And we are done. Do copy, run start. And we can tap show run to view the commands we did. We see that we did configure this. And we did configure this. So you can check them 1 minute and continue. Okay, so that's all for this chapter, chapter 4, inter-VLAN routing. So now, let's go check if PC1 can now ping the other guy. So you see, when we did ping the other guy, the PC2, it was not successful. So now with that inter-VLAN routing, let's ping again with PC2. The router is busy processing the request. You come from which VLAN? Where do you want to go? So let's wait and see. Okay, failed. Let's try again. Okay, now let's double check something properly. I changed the IP addresses. So for PC1, the address is 10.2. This guy is 20.2 because 20 for VLAN 20.2. So now the ping thing will be the ping thing will be the ping thing will be ping. So sometimes if it doesn't work, you must double check properly. Is your config's fine? Your IP addresses, your default gateway. So now we check. The router is still processing. Now he found the way. So this is how we allow different VLAN to communicate. We use a router called a router on a stick. Why a router on a stick? Because we did configure inter-VLAN routing configuration there. That's why we see inter-VLAN. So you must make everything nice, clean, clear like that so that you won't mess up stuff. Because it's easy to make mistakes. See? These mistakes, we're going to find them. Troubleshooting inter-VLAN. Sometimes, sir, I do everything, but it doesn't work. It depends. For example, you didn't configure VLANs or you mess up the VLAN's name and what on the switch with trunk ports. Maybe you didn't configure properly. See the trunk and access switch and the access port or trunk port and also the router. So there are many things you need to check if your inter-VLAN routing is not working. So we'll check them also in packet tracer, especially this one, packet tracer troubleshooting inter-VLAN routing. We'll give you a case study and we say it's not working, fix. So first thing first, you check your stuff step by step, step by step. You can download and we'll be doing them later. So that's all for chapter 4, inter-VLAN routing. Any questions? So what you have to do, you come here. Now that you know you have a big picture, how to configure VLANs, how to configure trunk port on a switch, how to configure root on a stick with sub interfaces. Now you go, you come here and you start reading step by step. Step by step. So in EtherCAD, we give sometimes too much info. Student can get confused. That's why I prefer to make it very simple for you, so that you see here the sub interfaces. .10 for VLAN 10. You give the IP address. That will be the default gateway for anyone in VLAN 10. You see, this one is clean, clear. Okay, that's all for today. it's time to enjoy weekend. So on Monday we'll be doing so you can start doing your first exam for CCNA2. It's open. Your first your first exam. After chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, there is an exam. You can do it many times until you get a good result. Monday we'll do STP, spanning tree protocol. When you have a lot of switches in a company and you need to interconnect all of them, we need some rules. It's like driving on the road. If there is no rules, you see, it will be a mess. So we'll have some rules. It's STP, spanning tree protocol, to manage different interconnected switches. Ether channel is to increase bandwidth on a switch. We have some techniques to increase the bandwidth on a switch. After these two, you'll also have an exam. Thank you very much, guys, for today, and I will be meeting again next time.
Thank you, Max.
Okay, welcome, guys. Welcome.